So I know it's been a while since I made a video on the Miata, and so I'll show it to you guys real quick, show you what I've done to it, and it hasn't been too much, but it's been a little bit. So first thing I did, pretty obvious, put the top on, and it was actually a lot easier than I thought it would be. Everyone hypes it up to be this pain in the ass task, and it's actually super easy. So maybe I'll make a video on that eventually, or if someone wants me to, I will, but it was actually really easy, and I got it in without a problem, and it works and looks great. So let's move on to what I'm doing right now. So as you can see, I took out the mass airflow, no, this is the airflow meter. I took out the airflow meter, and I took out the factory air box, which is just like, I think it was like 6 or 7 bolts. There's 3 that actually hold it in place, and then you gotta take out one back here, one right here, and then one right there. And I actually have all those right here. You take those out, you unhook the 4 bolts from the airflow meter itself, and I just pulled off this hose for ease of access. Then you get that off, and what I'm actually doing today is I'm gonna try to make my own little intake setup. So let me show you what I got here. I got a Spectre air filter, just a 3-inch, and then I got 2 90-degree elbows. So what my plan is going to be with this is, instead of going out and spending like 220 bucks or using air duct venting, like the flexible tubes like Orion used in Haggard Garage with his first Miata, I'm going to try to take, I don't know if it's going to fit, but I'm going to hook up this little bracket. I bought this too, and I'm going to hook this back up, the airflow meter, and then I'm going to take those 2 90-degree angles, and I'm going to make a 180. So it's going to essentially come out, this is going to sit here, then it's going to be those 2 90s, they're going to go in a 180, and then the intake's going to sit right here itself. I mean, the filter will. The filter will sit right there. So it's better than normal. When a lot of people do this, they'll set the filter right over top of the headers, and I honestly thought about that just for whatever, you know. I mean, it would still sound a little cooler with the intake, but I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna spend the extra 10-15 bucks, buy a couple elbows, and see if this will work. So I'm gonna clean all this up, because as you can see, it's actually really dirty down there, and it looks like this has never been taken out before, which I don't doubt it. So I'm gonna clean all this up, and then I'll get back to you guys with what I do next. Okay, so where I left you guys off, I was just hooking up the adapter to the airflow meter, and I did that. I ran into a few little problems, but I learned that they weren't actually problems. I just didn't put in my own bolts where you're supposed to. So let me show you that, guys. So the original bolts that originally bolt the air box to the airflow meter are right here, and then there's one right there, and then there's 2 identical like that on the other side. Well, on the bracket they give you, there was 2 spots above that and 2 spots below it, and I didn't really know what they were for, so I put it on, and I started putting the nuts on so the bracket would be held against the airflow meter, and I got the bottom 2 on just fine, but then the top 2 wouldn't go on these right here. They kept hitting the little intake, whatever you want to call this, the little pipe right here, the starter pipe. So I figured out that these were to basically replace these. So since I already had the bottom 2 in, I left those, and then I just kind of hacked this up and put in a couple bolts and put in a couple washers and a few nuts, and it's holding pretty good. So then I got that on, and all I did when I went to the store, I went to AutoZone, and I bought I got the air filter itself from O'Reilly Auto Parts, because it was on clearance there for 20 bucks, so grabbed that, and then I was originally going to buy a K&N, but whatever. So then I grabbed the piping from AutoZone, and that was like $7-8 a piece for each of the 90s. So I grabbed 2 90s, I almost got a 90 and a 60, but I figured 290s would work because my original idea was to go from here, curve around, and go into here. Well, if you have a Miata, you know that there's no room, like, in that spot. There's enough room for a turbo right above the manifold, or above the header here, and that's about all the room you have inside this thing. Otherwise, this thing's really cramped. So I started running it, and I was trying different stuff, moving this around, whatever, and this is pretty much the only combination I got to work. And it's jammed in there in the, I don't know if you can see this in the camera, maybe, but the hood is just barely touching this when you close it. But I got it to close, and then the only other problem I ran into is the hood latch rod is actually hitting this piece of intake pipe right there, which is actually a pretty simple fix. I could always just go and get some thinner pipe, or I don't know, make up something just so it's not hitting that. But since the whole intake is really kind of pushed up against the firewall itself, which I'll show you that. So I didn't want to go back to the store because, one, I'm cheap, so I didn't want to waste the gas, and two, I really don't feel like driving out there again because I have to drive like 3 hours for work today, so didn't want to do that. So I used the 290s, stuck with my original idea, and I had a few different ideas besides this one, which kind of works. So one idea was to take this 90, turn it downwards, put the intake down there, which obviously I know is really stupid because it's literally right next to the header, but whatever. So I didn't want to do that, but it was the last resort. Another one would have been to move the airflow meter up, turn this one down, and then turn this one down behind it and try to put the air filter somewhere down here where the air box was, which wasn't a bad idea. I thought about it, but I don't know. I didn't like the whole idea of the air filter being down under there and me having to reach under there, whatever, to get it out. So I kind of wanted it more exposed. So this was my next idea, and it kind of works. It's really, like, this piping is not going to flex, obviously. So, I mean, it's really tight held in there, and I had to, it's not on this 100, I mean, it is on all the way, but as you can see, just a little teeny bit, it's leaning, or I mean, it's kind of angled like that. So, I mean, it's on there, though. It's on there, and the hood closes, and I guess that's all that counts. So, let me close the hood for you guys real quick, and I'll show you what I mean by it kind of hits, but it doesn't. And then I'll start it up for you guys, and we'll see if it sounds any different. So let's do it. Alright, so I don't know if you guys can hear me too well, because the engine is running. That was a cold start though, so obviously it's going to be a little different there, but let's give it a quick rev and see if we notice the difference. Okay, so there's that. Okay, so from inside the car, obviously it's a lot quieter in here, I hope, but you can hear a little bit of that throatiness that everyone kind of claims you get, and that's what I was looking for. So we'll give it a quick one and see if you guys can kind of hear it. Alright, so you might have been able to hear it, you might have been able not to. Definitely makes a little difference, and let's get on with the video. Okay, so I just got done showing you guys what it sounds like, and my dumbass just looked at the car and realized that I didn't put the hose clamp on the intake, so I should probably do that, because if I don't, I mean, it's definitely not going to come off because there's no freaking room for it to come off, but I should probably do that. Let me do that and then get back with you guys. Alright guys, so I put the intake, or I put the clamp for the intake, the air filter, on, and it really wasn't that bad. Really didn't even take me that long. I probably could have just set down the camera and did it, but I'm new to this, so I got the clamp on, and she's looking good. Pretty solid. Give it a little hurricane test. And I mean, you can see it's sturdy. Like it's really not that bad. And I guess to add this up, I paid, what's that? Maybe like 45. I don't know. Maybe like 50, 55 bucks, something like that. Which really isn't too bad for. I'm not gonna say cold air intake, because it's definitely not a cold air intake, but it's a colder air intake probably, rather than the stock one, which just runs a little cowl. Actually, I have that right over here. It just runs this up towards this end of the engine, kind of like this one is, but this one looks better and it sounds better. And above all, it's a cheaper way. It's not a cheaper, but a cheap way to kind of make your engine bay look a little better, give it a little more chrome if you want to, or any different color. And I mean, it gives a little better sound, and people say the throttle response is a little better yet. I haven't driven with it yet, so this would be my first experience, and I didn't put one of these on my daily, so I don't know. Yeah, so that's the install. If you guys liked it, give it a thumbs up. Give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you guys want to see some more Miata videos, because like I said in the first video, I've got a lot planned and I'm really excited to get started on it, and I'm building back my money from buying the car. I'm only 17, so it's not like I'm rich here, and I work a part-time job, so I'm going and I'm slowly building, but we're gonna figure it out. I'm gonna build this car and it's gonna be sick. So like I said, hope you guys like the video. If you like, give it a thumbs up. Until next video, have a good day.